Friends, I am Dr. Kavita Arora. I am teaching geography at Department of Geography, Shahid Bhagat Singh College, University of Delhi. Today we will talk about urban planning. This module will help you to learn about the urban planning and which considered an important area of study in the urban geography. At the end of this module, you will be able to understand the concept and need of urban planning, philosophical approaches of modern urban planning, components of urban planning models and their functions, future prospects of urban planning. Now we will talk about urbanization problems, prospects and need of urban planning. Urbanization started 1000 years back in the Mesopotamia, Egypt, India and China as a river valley civilization. Here they were dependent largely on agriculture activity. With the advent of industrialization about 200 years back, urbanization accelerated dramatically. The employment opportunity in factories attracted the large number of population, but the last 50 years are known as the year of accelerated urban growth. For the first time in history, more than half the world's population resides in cities. The world's urban population now stands at 3.7 billion people, and this number is expected to double by 2050. According to Forbes study 2015, the trend towards urbanization is only accelerating, and 96% of all urbanization by 2030 will occur in the developing world. This also shows that geography of urbanization is again shifted at the global south, which was earlier known as the birthplace of agricultural based urbanization. But now secondary and tertiary sectors become the base of urbanization. Urbanization presents an opportunity to connect more people to basic needs, making them healthier and more productive. It also presents the risk of overwhelming various public goods, including power, infrastructure, health and education. As these systems adjust to increased demand, urbanization is a positive phenomena, but if it is not managed properly, it can amplify existing challenges. The global south is mostly known as agricultural based rural economy. The present wave of urbanization placed strain on developing cities, land, resources, infrastructure and administration, all of which are unaccustomed to such rapid growth. The experience of developing world attracted the attention of Harvard economist Edward Glaser in his latest research, published as a National Bureau of Economic Research working paper in December 2016. He called the recent surge poor country urbanization. History of urbanization suggests that urban growth and economic development go hand in hand. But the experience of developing world is mixed. Throughout the developing world, cities have far higher level of economic productivity when compared to their nations as a whole. But in many other cases, urbanization has been accompanied by low level of economic growth. It is good to see an urban economist of Glaser focus on the pressing question of these uneven development and inequality. The most important lesson is that urbanization is necessary, but it must be paired with appropriate policies, institutions and strategies, and planned urbanization. Urban planning is not a new requirement for urban growth. The history of urban planning is a complex and an ongoing history of achievements, failures, resilience and challenges. It is a history of both continuities, quest for health, justice, efficiency, environment, amenities and discontinuity. Global technological, economic and political shift, and in the modern age, urban planning developed as a response to the social and economic problems emerged from the Industrial Revolution. Since then, urban planning has continuously struggled for its own identity as it has interfaces with different dimensions of society. In US, urban planning has evolved from city planning and social sciences, but in Europe, the planning tradition was based more on physical design. Whilst in the UK, there was mixed approach. Recently, the environment has become a new focus for land use and urban planning. Although the role of planning in society is always remained positive, but it has been also criticized as being of limited relevance to a modern democratic free market society. Now we will discuss concept of urban planning. Patrick Abercrombie stated long back that the aim of urban planning is health, beauty and convenience. These encompasses total well-being of people. Dudley Stamp stressed on the underlying objective of city planning as the welfare of the citizens. Urban areas are for their inhabitants and they take care of their all-round growth. It is the urban space which actually provides its dwellers a suitable stage to act conveniently, to move to a place of work with ease and to reach safely and return after earning their daily bread. Urban areas provides its people joys of community, living, opportunity for academic pursuits, health and recreational facilities and physical, social and economic growth. Urban planning therefore is the projection of teamwork into a city from which serves as a common objective, a form in which urban development may proceed with order. Patrick Geddes insisted that urban planning is the reorganization of place, work and folk. Its role as a democratic activity is whole enough. Its real and practical approach lies in following the economy and need of the people. It coordinates public and private sections. It takes into account well-being of people, municipal income, taxes and land values. Urban planning is a combination of science, art and policy to fulfill the socio-economic need of the society. Urban planning is a technique to seek ordered land use, adequate sites for residents and commercial buildings, and channels for transport and communication networks. The main objectives which are inherent in planning include practicability, economic growth, welfare, convenience, beauty and safety. This is done by section of people from the local government who draw up and implement schemes of plan. Urban plan therefore to control and protect urban environment to ensure smooth life and economic growth within the area. Planning must be able to predict the future requirements and the prediction must be based on tested theories. Urban planning has always been of chief concern since time immemorial. Evidence of planning has been unearthed in the ruins of cities in China, India, Egypt, Asia Minor, the Mediterranean world and South and Central America. Early examples of efforts towards planned urban development include orderly street system that are rectilinear and sometimes radial, division of a city into specialized functional quarters, development of commanding central sites for palaces, temples and civic buildings, and advanced system of fortification, water supply and drainage. The pre-classical and classical periods saw a number of cities laid out according to fixed plan. Though many tended to develop organically designed cities were characteristics of the Mesopotamian, Harappan and Egyptian civilization. Distinct characteristics of urban planning from remains of the cities of Harappa, Lothal and Mohenjo-daro. In the Indus Valley civilization, archaeologists to conclude that they are the earliest example of planned cities. The streets of many of these early cities were paved and laid out at right angles in a grid pattern, with a hierarchy of streets from major residential alleys. Evidence suggests that many Harappan houses were laid out to protect from noise and enhance residential privacy. Many also had their own water wells, probably for both sanitary and ritual purposes. These ancient cities were unique in that they often had drainage system seemingly tied to a well-developed ideal of urban sanitation. The Greek Hippodamus of Miletus has been dubbed the father of city planning for his design of Piraeus. Alexander commissioned him to lay out his new city Alexandria, the grandest example of idealized urban planning of the ancient Mediterranean world, where the city's regularity was facilitated by its level, site near a mouth of the Nile. The Hippodamian or grid plan was the basis for subsequent Greek and Roman cities. Roman urban life meant more than a means of living the good life. It was actually a center having all the function of its administrative, cultural and religious life. A town was also the center, defense and network of roads. This close network of roads helps in the speedy growth of Roman towns. The Romans were more particular about managing the town in highly disciplinary method, making church more powerful in terms of governance. Thus, the town life basically moved around the centrally located church of those days. Modern urban planning movement started with the work of Ebenezer Howard. It was in October 1898 that Ebenezer Howard published the original edition of Tomorrow, A Peaceful Path to Real Reform, to be republished 4 years later under the more familiar title Garden Cities of Tomorrow. And through there were other foundation stones of the modern planning movement in France, in Germany, in the United States. Surely, without doubt, this was the most significant and it laid the foundation of modern urban planning. Urban planning approaches. Roger Pardon in 2003 wrote that modern urban planning movement is basically influenced by three philosophical approaches: utopianism, Marxism and modern urban planning movement. Utopianism, in order to prompt the happiness and welfare of all, Henry Saint-Simon, Charles Fourier and Robert Owen in early 19th century proposed to redesign society on a cooperative basis. Based on this common approach, the utopian socialists developed a number of specific proposals to reform the society. Since they worked independently, their proposals differed in a number of ways. In particular, whereas Fourier and Owen focused on the design of a small scale, utopian communities, Saint-Simon and his followers emphasized large scale plans to rationally transform the whole of society. Nevertheless, their proposals include a number of common elements. They all were agreed on the principle of the public ownership of the land and on the idea that some limitation should be placed on the private acquisition of wealth. In addition, they argued for the end of social discrimination based on economic classes and for the rationalization of industry. Marxist approach. Marx is known for his criticism of the utopian socialists. They were criticized by Marx for first their endless infighting over the details of their utopian visions helped to split the European left into a number of conflicting camps, preventing it from becoming an effective political force. Second, the utopian socialists were in fact unable to gain the support they sought from bourgeoisie bankers and politicians, and partly as a result, their demonstration communities failed and their peaceful challenges to bourgeoisie society were easily turned aside. Unfortunately, Marx did not systematically apply these criticisms to the special ideas behind the utopian socialist town plans. In his writing on the housing question, however, Engels discussed the problems of urban life during the last half of the 19th century in some details, and these comments shed some light on the nature of these criticisms. Thus, he faults the utopian socialist for failing to attack bourgeoisie society as a whole. The third approach was the modern urban planning. In the 20th century, in an attempt to make their discipline into a profession, urban planners produced an amazing number of theories to help explain, justify, order and improve their discipline. This theoretical effort was so prolific that in short order there were a variety of competing and conflicting urban planning theories, and much talk about paradigm shift and disciplinary crisis. To deal with the resulting confusion, some planners developed a number of topologies of planning theory that group theories together based on the fact that they adopt similar approaches or make similar assumptions. One of the most important of these topology was developed by Nigel Taylor. Taylor's typology, which focuses mainly on the work of Anglo-American planners, was developed in the course of his philosophical history of 20th century urban planning, which presents newer theory as developing out of problems in older theories. Taylor divided the history of 20th century urban planning into three stages, each dominated by a particular approach. The first modeled on architecture, the second on science, and the third on politics. Urban planning as design, he mentioned in 1900 to 1960, was the phase, because many early urban planners were architects who understood themselves to be architects working on the scale of a town or a city. Early in its history, many common architectural practices were incorporated into urban planning. In particular, urban planners implicitly adopted four principles from architecture that together constituted the design approach which dominated planning during the first half of the 20th century. These principles were A. Human needs, B. Aesthetics, C. Highly ordered hierarchical structures. This approach was visible in the work of Howard and Garden City movement. Moreover, Frank Lloyd Wright's Broad-Acre City and the growing suburban movement also adopted this approach. In addition, Taylor argues that the City Beautiful movement accepted many of the principles associated with the approach. Even it is said that Le Corbusier and the modern movement generally were also inspired by this approach. Due to a number of spectacular failures, the design approach had been widely rejected by them ideal of the century. These failures could be attributed to the principles underlying the approaches. First, many planners argued that with their eyes fixed on their utopian ideals, urban designers simply failed to understand how real cities worked, and that as a result, their attempt to realize their ideal produced numerous unintended but extremely harmful consequences. Second, the focus on the physical aspect of urban areas led planners to believe that poor but healthy urban communities were slums that need renewal. This created additional and severe social problems. The second phase or second theories were urban planning as science. These failures led to the development of a new variety of scientific urban planning theories, the most well known of which were system theory and comprehensive rational planning. The practical failure of the design approach convinced many planners that it was essential to develop an empirically grounded scientific theory of urban life. System theory therefore was the obvious alternative. The system approach, cities were understood to be ongoing, ever changing, primarily social systems. Planners took their task to be one of managing these systems so as to maximize short run benefits while avoiding long term disasters. System theory was a purely descriptive and predictive urban theory, and as such was the polar opposite of design theories, which were purely normative urban theories. Unfortunately, this emphasis on science and system led system theories to ignore the essential value dimension of urban planning practices. The advantage of this approach was that it allowed values to enter the planning process without requiring that they too be philosophically justified. Given this rational approach to decision making, system theory and comprehensive rational planning theory formed a complete approach to urban planning that promised to put urban planning on a purely scientific basis. Unfortunately, this promise could not be redeemed. First, system theory did not produce the kind of accurate predictive urban theories the approach required. This may have been due to relative lack of detailed empirical research on various urban subsystems, or it may have been due to an underlying ideological blindness. At any rate, system theory did not attain the scientific status to which it aspired. The third cohort of theories was urban planning as politics. These criticism of the scientific approach to planning led some planners to adopt an explicitly political approach to planning. If urban planning decisions cannot be rationally justified and if they are inherently political, then planning itself must become explicitly political. This argument led to what might be called a democratic turn in planning theory, which holds that planners should give up their pretensions of neutral expertise and embrace an explicitly political role. There are a number of ideas as to how to bring the community into the planning process. At one extreme is Paul Davidoff's advocacy planning, which is based on a model adopted from the legal profession, in which planners are responsible to their clients and unabashedly seeks to express and achieve their clients' interest. At the other extreme is communicative planning, which is based on a model drawn from Jürgen Habermas' work. On this view, the role of the planner is to create a planning environment that welcomes all parties and facilitate undistorted communication. Marx criticizes these attempts to bring about economic equality without greater political changes. Second, according to the strategic criticism, as equity and advocacy planners are employees of the state, they will be unable to use their position effectively to challenge the existing political order in such a direct way. The confusion of theories created a hurdle in urban planning to develop an empirical, well-grounded science of the city. In addition, sociological theories of planning revealed that the conception of the public good were essentially contestable and that therefore these conceptions conceal a political agenda. Marx commented it is simply a mistake to theorize about urban planning, as this only leads to endless debates and paralyzing confusion. Urban planning, it would seem, should become a practice without a theory. Now, let us see what are the aims and objectives of urban planning. The first aim of urban planning is to create and promote healthy conditions and environments for all the people. The second aim is to make right use of the land for right purposes. The third is to ensure orderly development. The fourth is to provide social, economic and recreational amenities to all, and the fifth is to preserve the individuality of the town, and next is to preserve the aesthetics in the design of all elements of a city plan. What are the components of urban planning? As you can see in the given diagram, urban planning includes many components as physical elements, municipal and other services management, planning agencies, budgeting and finance, laws and policies and their subjects. Now we can discuss the urban planning model, which is very important area in the urban planning. One of the great contribution of planning to urban policy has been the development and application of models, which in turn became institutionalized and professionalized. Models represent valuable pedagogic tool for teaching and learning and have been employed extensively in urban geography to interpret the complexity of urban environments. The use of models in urban geography predate the advent of positivist philosophy and the spatial science. Perspective of the 1950 having been introduced in the work of Park, Burgess and others. In practice, the legion of urban models comprises cohorts of paradigms of varying types. These models were based on different perspectives like ecological perspective, which primarily focuses on the internal social composition and land use structure of the city. Political economy based model analyzed the interrelationship between state and capital and its effect on urban form and function, and the model based on postmodern perspective were emphasized on the importance of human differences in determining the nature of an urban area. But when we are discussing about urban planning model, they falls into four subset or general classes. They are land use, transportation, population and economic activity oriented model. The urban planning model developed generally for the purpose of planning these subjects or manipulating them. These models perform three basic functions: projecting the future of the subject, allocating the subject into subsets and transforming the subject by driving another subject from it. Most models are composites of these functions. Urban planning models are either theory based or theoretically inspired. It is impossible to make a theory-less model. The underlying theory of an urban planning model is that set of relationships, stated or implied, which is assumed to prevail between the subject of the model and the larger environment. For example, theory-based models are those employing the principles of gravity, market theory of location. On the basis of theory, urban planning model can be classified into two categories. First is the microanalytic behavior or choice model and macroanalytical growth forces or index models. Maurice D. Kilbreach, Robert P. O. Bloch and Paul V. Teplice believes that urban models have not yet begun to fulfill their potential as planning tools. Most of those now available are costly, clumsy and inadequate reflections of reality. As with all abstract model of human phenomena, the essential problem is to make them complex enough to reflect the real world, while keeping them simple enough to solve. Urban phenomena are mostly untidy and ill structured, containing objective and subjective elements, distortions and discontinuities. They depend for their solutions on the collection and organization of vast amount of empirical data, and the growth of urban model is hampered on a broad scale by non-availability of specific theories and better organized data. Now let us see future prospect of urban planning. Urban planning is important for urban development, urban regeneration, renewal, as well as building climate change resilience and enhancing climate sustainability. As the urbanization is increasing, planning regained the support and endorsement recently through the new urban agenda and sustainable development goal in UN Habitat 2016. The need of the hour is the public participation and the development of co-creation and co-planning capacity with stakeholders impacted by plan development. Interdisciplinary skills can help in the planning of future cities because looking at the present trend, we can assume that shape and scale of the future cities will be radically different from the cities built a century ago. Planning curriculum and education need to be revised and updated to ensure that a planner has the competency and skill required for the planning challenges that society face. Planning practice now demand from planning education is to prepare future practitioners to be able to help shape alternative future. This may include closer concern with technology for planning the smart cities, but at the same time we need to consider the environment and the science of ecology so that sustainability can be maintained. Planning paradigms are changing, but need of the urban planning as an instrument to making place better has remained constant. The study of urban planning, as we seen in this module, and urban land policy becomes more relevant with the increasing urbanization in global south, which is known as developing world 2. Urban planners need to examine old policies and writing new ones to achieve a fairer, more balanced distribution of public resources in the built environment. Planning should collaborate with city residents as well as colleagues in economic development, transportation, education, housing, social services, and parks and recreation to plan strategically for greater opportunities and better life for urban residents. Their goal should be to make cities more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable by providing transportation options, safe street networks, affordable housing, and access to jobs, good schools, health care, healthy food, and green space. Thank you.